Hey, this is Matt from InvestiQuant. Today is Monday, November 9th, 2020, and the markets are up huge this morning. There's been news that has come out here just recently about a vaccine that could be coming soon. The report is 90% effective on this new vaccine, and the markets are popping strongly on that. We have giant moves to the upside. In fact, the Russell, I believe, hit its circuit breaker on the upside, up 7%. Interestingly, though, NASDAQ not quite the same. NASDAQ's just barely up at the time of this recording, whereas Russell was up huge. The S&P is up huge as well. But what I figured we'd do this morning is take a look at what has happened historically when we get a sizable up gap to start the week. So we'll be looking at big up gaps on Mondays in a bullish environment. Let me set this up here in Discover. We'll look at all four instruments. Setup's going to be based upon getting long at the open, which is 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, exiting at the close, which is 4:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, as far as describing this open, we can get about as creative as you can think of here in Discover. But the way that I'm going to do it is I'm simply going to use a percentage of the 5-day ATR and use that to describe the gap size. So currently the gap size is over 100% of the 5-day ATR, at least in the S&P. But I'm going to go ahead and say that the gap size is at least 75% of the 5-day ATR. And just for reference, the 5-day ATR in the S&P right now is about 78 points. So 75% would be somewhere around 60 points or so as a gap size. So I'm going to use 75% here. We could go larger, but I do want to keep as many samples as possible, so I'm not going to go up to 100% or anything greater, even though that we are currently trading up at those levels. All right, so now I've got gap up of at least 75%. The only other things I want to add to this is I want to put it in a similar bullish in market environment, which is above a 10 and above a 200. And then I want to say that today is Monday. So we're starting the week off with this giant up gap. Then hit view results. And here we go. So these are the results of going long at the open, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, exiting at the close, 4:15 p.m. Eastern Time, when you get a gap up of at least 75% of the 5-day ATR in a strong bullish in market environment on a Monday. Historically, we've got 19 samples in the S&P, 10 in the NASDAQ, so pretty rare there. The YM, 23 samples, and Russell, only 7 samples. So this does not happen often. If we take a look at the win rates on these, the S&P pretty neutral, 53%. NASDAQ just a touch weak, but again, only 10 samples there. So it really doesn't take but a trade or two to really skew that win rate when you've got that small of a sample size. YM has the most sample sizes there. It's 48%, and Russell, with the smallest sample sizes, has the weakest win rate at 29%. So win rates here a little bit mixed, none of them strong, and all of them on small sample sizes here. If we take a look at average win, average loss, S&P average loss a little bit bigger than the average win. NASDAQ, the average win, bigger than the average loss. Average loss on the Dow, a little bit larger than the average win, and average loss on the Russell, quite a bit larger than the average win. You know what, let's go ahead and take a look at the charts on these. I've got the ES selected here, so we're going to look at the S&P charts and just take a look at a few of these so we can get a feel for what has happened. Looks like the last one that we had was from August 24th. You can see the date down here at the bottom. We had a gap that day of about 28 points or so. The ATR was 27 points, so this was about 100% of the 5-day ATR. And this day looks like it was mostly sideways. This is a fairly small range day, so it looks like it had about 18 points of range, somewhere in that ballpark, but mostly went sideways for the session. Let's keep scrolling through some of these. This was last December, December 16th. This one again looks like a fairly small range day, only about 10 points of range on this day. Pushed up higher and then went sideways most of the sessions, but that push up higher was only about 8 to 10 points and then kind of sideways from there. So fairly quiet day. This one is back in November of 2019, so about a year ago. And this one Looks like it sold off, but again, this is a small range day. We're kind of seeing that as we push through some of these charts. These are very small range sessions that are happening here, so it's not like we're getting big trend days developing after this giant gap. This one is the biggest one that we've seen as far as range goes, and that looks like it's a little bit over 25 points of range or so, and that one sold the majority of the day. Little bounce there at the end. This one, another small range day. This is August 27th. 12 points of range or so, pushed up and consolidating. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but just quickly here, looking through a handful of those in recent years, has been a fairly quiet day as far as range goes once you get open. So at least the past handful of examples here has not led to trend-like activity when you get that giant gap. But we're in a news-based environment, so who knows what will happen here at the open, but I thought that was interesting and worth sharing. So hopefully you found that helpful. Good luck today, and we will see you next time.